Welcome, Bronco Nation, to another exciting video. Today, we have an exciting Boise State recruit coming on. We're going to talk about his connections to Boise State. There were family connections that definitely inspired his football playing career and his decision to come play for Boise State. We'll talk about those exciting connections, and then we'll talk about his decision to commit to Boise State and some of the excitement for the future here. I have Ryan Brekke on today. His dad, that might be a familiar name to some of the older Boise State fans in the room. His dad played from 1995 to 1998. He was a Boise State tight end, and his son is coming to continue that family legacy. 6'3", 220-pound tight end out of Idaho, Meridian, Idaho, and he had 49 receptions for 611 yards and a touchdown last season. Ryan, it's great to have you on today.
Yeah, great to be on. Really excited.
Obviously, we talked about your dad playing for Boise State, 95 to 98, obviously well before you were around and in the picture. But can you talk a little bit about growing up, hearing those stories of your dad playing on the blue, and then how that inspired you to pursue your own football career?
Yeah, for sure. So growing up, like my mom was actually a Vandal. So they were button heads, and they actually. So my dad went to Capital before Boise State, and she was at Bora. So they were kind of like high school rivals. And then she went up to U of I, and he went to Boise State, obviously. So then kind of just opposite alike, and they met each other out of college. And but eventually she gave in to the Broncos because her family is all Broncos, but I think she just wanted to get away from home because she was like her family always had season tickets to Boise State because they were from the Boise area. So she was always a Bronco fan at heart, but I think she just wanted to get away from home for a little bit for college. So I mean, I was a Bronco fan since out the womb, basically. Um, and like I had season tickets my whole life, like as you saw, like on that video that I had on Twitter or X, whatever it is. Pictures from when I was 2, 3 years old, growing up to be a Bronco. And my dad he would always take me around the facilities because he knew guys there. My guy Dale, the equipment manager, who's still there. Um, I'd always get to go see the equipment room, and then he'd take us around, walk us around, and then I mean I go to campus, especially during the fall. Like I'm there almost every week, whether it's just to say what's up to coaches for game day visits, or I mean I just love being in the area. It's a great place to be. So like growing up was definitely a big part, and yeah, I mean with family legacy there, it was definitely a good place to be.
Well, your mom's side of the family must have really loved your dad coming and redeeming her back into the Boise State fold. That
For sure.
you were actually offered by Idaho as well,
I
U of I.
was, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so what was that conversation like at all? Was there a little bit of that re-sparking that budding of head rivalry there? You trying to convince you to go to the Vandal way?
Yeah, so Coach Eck offered me last summer, and yeah, I mean he loved me and he was a great guy. I got nothing against Coach Eck. Like love him, great coach. Happy to see, or like excited to see what he goes and does at New Mexico. Um but yeah, he was like, I get it, you're a Bronco guy, but like Idaho's a good place, like give us a chance. And for a while there I was, but then when Boise State pulled the trigger on me, it was pretty hard to not. It was almost an impossible decision not kind of be like, all right, like I'm a Boise State guy, like couldn't from there. But yeah, it was definitely sparked something. I was like, oh dang, like Idaho's really interested. And then once Boise State pulled, I was like, no brainer almost.
Well done. Made the right call. Absolutely. We'll talk a little bit about that feeling of what it was like to commit to Boise State in a moment when they finally offered you a team that you've grown up a fan of. I mean, and so we have so many guests on this channel, and they're all awesome commits to Boise State. But because of Boise State's national reach, you have a lot of guys that are coming from your Texas, California, or even Netherlands. Arthur Boakye coming in, guys like that that may be aware of Boise State, may even have watched
Well,
them growing up, but they weren't necessarily fans yet. They are now, but they weren't at the time. So you're a little bit different here. You're that homegrown product. Right now, you're the only Idaho product in the 2026 class. I'm sure that number will grow. But you're the kind of the player that Boise State always built their brand on. Those local homegrown kids, those OKGs that come to Boise State. So growing up a fan of this program, can you talk a little bit of that? What's some of your favorite memories, your most memorable game, most memorable moment, something like that, growing up a fan of Boise State? It's exciting to talk to someone who was a fan and now is going to be actually playing on the roster.
yeah, so dang, I got a couple favorite memories. Um the This is probably one of my earliest memories. I was at my grandparents' house, because my parents went to the 2010 Fiesta Bowl against TCU, and when Boise State did the fake punt, I remember I was in just sitting on the couch thinking of grandparents' house, and I just was running around the house like super excited. So that was one, and then the year we won the Fiesta Bowl, 2014, I think we beat Fresno in the conference championship that year. And that was I was at that game, Section 8. Shout out Section 8. Been season tickets there my whole life. Um, I mean, I couldn't watch. Like I had my face down. I was in my mom's arm, just like super scared. And I think we got like a sack or something, and that sealed the game. And then same thing when we played Arizona in the Fiesta Bowl. That what was it, 30-38 was the final score of that game, and they started coming back because I mean, with Jay Ajayi and Chaz Anderson, Grant Hendrick, all that was a great team. And we started off strong, kind of started slipping away. And yeah, once they got that sack on like the 20-yard line when they were driving, that was definitely one of my better memories. So those were three top memories I've had growing up being a Boise State fan.
So you grew up being a Boise State fan, watching all of these incredible games, and yeah, you weren't around during that 2006, but you still remember some of those earlier games and some of
Oh
those
yeah.
earlier building blocks for Boise State. So you remember all of those incredible moments for Boise State, and now you got called to come and play for the Broncos. Can you talk a little bit about what that was like when Boise State, this team that you've grown up a fan of, finally said, "Hey, we want you to come play for us." Can you talk about the emotions, the feelings in that moment when you got that call?
Yeah, so I was in a hotel in Seattle. I was doing the University of Washington camp. And we were just in a hotel, and Coach Potter called my dad and was like, "Hey, we want you on campus on Sunday, and we want Coach Jamison wants to meet with Ryan, and then we'll take you guys around campus, and then we'll take you out to dinner after." And so I was in the room. Obviously, my dad was like telling me what he was talking about. I was like, "Huh," like we had like talked about um maybe some like preferred walk-on opportunities there from like previous, and so I was like maybe they're just gonna talk that. And so when we got there on Sunday, me and my family, me, my mom, and my dad, we went into Coach Jamison's office. We sat down. He talked about his three pillars, work hard, love Jesus, treat people right, and went over that with us. And obviously huge believer with that. um and then at the end of it, he was like, "So the reason I brought you guys in is Ryan, like you're a great fit for us, and we're gonna give you a full ride scholarship." And there got pretty emotional in the room. Even Coach Danielson had to shed a couple tears, and hugs all around. Got out, hugs all around with Coach Potter. He was waiting right outside the door, ready to hype me up. So yeah, I mean, it was a moment that God willing, I'll be telling my kids one day.
Well, you talk about a little bit of that extra motivation to come play for the team that you grew up a fan of. Have you thought at all about when you step out on the field for the first time in your Boise State uniform, in those all blues, on the blue? I mean, again, season ticket holder, you've been around the facilities. Have you thought about what that's going to feel like?
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna feel great. I remember I told once Coach Jamison offered me after, talking about it for a little bit, thanking him and him congratulating me. One of the first things I said after that was, once you put me out on that blue, you're not gonna be able to take me off. So, I mean, I'm gonna stand by that. That's what I want to go by. And yeah, so I mean, it's gonna be a great time. Childhood dream for sure. Lifelong.
Was there a different feeling? You've been around those facilities your whole life, and now you're walking around them knowing that that's where you're going to be playing. Is there a different feeling in the air knowing this is where you're going to work? This is where you're going to play.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like going from I want to be here to I am here. So that's definitely super, super cool. Especially like while I've been recruited, like obviously I've gone around them since I was just a little kid, but that doesn't mean anything. Just because obviously I could have been 6 years old and been a swimmer. I don't know. But went football route, obviously dad helped me out a ton on that. All my family did. Big football family for sure. I've never met somebody that's more into an Alabama State versus Buffalo game than my mom. She gets into games no matter who's playing. So big football family. So they definitely helped pushed me in the right direction. And so yeah, just being able to say I am here is definitely amazing experience.
Let's talk a little bit about you and your play style here. Help the fans get to know you, and we'll show some highlights as well from your playing time this last season here. You've still got one more year of high school, so good luck this last year
Yeah,
finishing off
thank
the
you.
right way. But describe your play style a little bit. I understand you play tight end and wide receiver, so kind of talk a little bit about the kind of player that you are. Help the fans get to know you here.
Yeah, so growing up, I played quarterback for a little bit, but that was just because that's where my little like Pee Wee team would need me. And then I switched over to receiver because I was just taller. I was a taller kid. I was pretty skinny at the time, and I was one of the faster kids for my grade. But as I started growing up, I thank my dad for it so much, but I always hated it. He'd always tell me, "You're going to be a tight end one day. You're going to be a tight end." I was like, "No, no, I'm gonna be a receiver." And then I started going to these camps, and I'm running these like freshman year, I'm running barely breaking five in my 40, and there's some other freshman receivers that are running 4.7s and 4.6. So I'm like, man, gaining that 20, 30 pounds is sounding so bad right now. Um, so moving from that, so play style, like I'm built in as a receiver, but I like to say I have the mentality and definitely have put on the strength to be a tight end and be able to put my hand in the dirt and block. But I definitely say I mean, obviously I'm not 6'6", 240 pounds coming in and just going to be almost like an extra tackle. Like I hope to be more of like a receiving tight end. Obviously, very willing to put my hand in the dirt and put someone on their back. Play style, I feel like I do really well in my route running just because being a receiver. My trainer, Ty Flanagan, he was old. He went to Idaho State, played running back, but he worked in the slot a little bit. So he's trained me for like the past 2 years of my route running and quick feet and my pass catching. Anything that's coming my way, I want to make a play on it and just if I can get it, if I can touch it, my grandpa always used to tell me, if you can touch it, you can catch it. So I just live by that. If I can get my hand on it, I know I can catch it.
Obviously, your dad's an inspiration for you. I'm sure that you have at least subconsciously copied some of your style from him. But is there anybody else out there that you in either in the collegiate world or in the professional world that you've tried to model your game after, or you see as inspiration of some form?
Yeah, my biggest inspiration growing up was Calvin Johnson, Megatron. Always loved him. I was a big Lions fan when Kellen Moore went there. Um, that's really what inspired me to be a Lions fan and then watch Megatron. And recently, I've liked a lot of Dallas Goedert, big Dallas Goedert guy. So I've transitioned to more of a tight end. Love watching him and Kittle. Kittle is always a good one.
Yes, I watched a lot of Lions preseason when Kelmore would actually play, but
Yeah,
I did watch him when he played at Dallas though a few times. All right,
yeah,
so last few questions here on your playing style. So Boise State obviously emphasizes the tight end in their
yeah.
offense, and there were a lot of other reasons that you chose to come to Boise State. Obviously your connection, your family connection, and your fanship as well. But Boise State emphasized tight ends a lot in their offense. Louder was number 2 overall in receiving this last season, so really an emphasis in the pass catching realm. How important was Boise State's offensive style to your decision to commit to Boise State?
I mean, it was huge. Obviously with the new staff coming in and having Cutter step up last year and Potter kind of taking over that role this year. Or crazy story. My grandpa and Coach Cutter back a few years ago, uh, they would go out get coffee together every Sunday. So I already knew Cutter and I knew how he ran his offense when he was with the Bucks and everything. I have a signed ball of him and Doug Martin when from the Bucks up in my closet. So the style that he runs and just knowing who he is as a person and as a coach definitely influenced. And I know I've talked to Potter about him, and I know Potter's probably going to take a lot of the same things that Cutter did. I mean, obviously, you look at the season we had last year. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, um, yeah, super super important when it came to making my decision. Seeing Louder with all the success he had, and excited to see Wags come up and hopefully have that. He will. I'm not even hopefully he will have the same success that Louder's having.
All right, last question on your playing style here before we talk a little bit about playing for Boise State. Um, if you had that choice to pancake a linebacker right across the middle, you just catch
Yeah,
him in the air hole, he's not looking, or catch a 15-yard pass, which one you going?
that's hard. It depends on the time of the game because like if we're run heavy and we're just going like just punching them right in the mouth, I want to I want to put someone right on their back. Um, but like if we're throwing the ball all around, I mean, a 15-yard catch would always be nice. Put it on somebody's head. But I don't know. I think honestly, I got my first couple pancakes like these last 2 seasons as I've been moving to tight end, and I might have to go with the pancake just
All right.
because I don't know, it just feels better. And you can get up, say a little something, and it's always a good time.
Yeah, it gets those OKG hard-nosed guys, right? You get to
Oh
wake
yeah,
yourself up into the game, and then it inspires the catch later on. I like that.
for sure.
All
Yeah,
right,
yeah, yeah.
so playing for Boise State here, you are coming in a historic time for Boise State,
Mhm.
and this kind of
Sure.
comes back to your family legacy as well, because your dad was part of the transition from the FCS to the FBS, 1995, 1998, with the FBS right there in 1996, his sophomore year. So he got to be part of establishing Boise State in the FBS and laying that foundation for everything that they would later become. And now you get to be part of the first ever Pac-12 class, all
Yeah.
Pac-12 class. There'll be other guys, of course, that are coming in this year that'll be playing early on with you guys, but you're part of that first ever, no Mountain West anymore. The first uniform you wear will have a Pac-12 logo on it. Can you talk a little bit about what it means for you to be part of such a historic moment and building that next generation, that next level for Boise State?
Yeah, it means so much. It's super cool. Um, Honestly, like when I wasn't watching Mountain West football growing up, I was watching Pac-12 just because it's close to home, Northwest type of guy. So that was super cool to see. And, Coach Danielson actually, like when it was official that they were making going to the Pac-12, he sent me a text of like a little graphic and gave me a bunch of details about it. So that was super cool. I was in math class and I looked at my phone. I was like, oh, nice, like super cool, yeah. And yes, that's gonna be super cool to have that Pac-12
That's
on front of the jersey.
Well, one more question here for you, or two more questions actually, talking about playing for Boise State. You talked about that Idaho Boise State connection earlier on, and Jeremiah Dickey has hinted that potentially, maybe, they would think about bringing back that Idaho rivalry. Idaho or Idaho State, one of those in-state teams. It's been recently answered a bunch of questions on Twitter, and that was one of the ones answered, and he was pretty upfront saying, yeah, we're looking into the potential of bringing that back. You're kind of in that right there. You've been part of both camps there, or at least your family has, and so you've been able to see that. Would you be in favor of bringing back the Idaho rivalry? I don't if that's something you've even thought about. Is that something that you'd be in favor of?
I haven't thought about that, but I mean, that'd be super cool. I love the guys at Idaho. I mean, they're always super good to me. They still continue to be super good to me. They all sent me congratulations on my commitment to Boise State. So I mean, I'm as much as I am Boise State, I'm big fans of them. They're big fans of me. Kind of like a mutual. Coach Linehan was big mentor for me in my recruitment. And then when Coach Ford took over the job and hired Coach Cross. Those two, like really, they're always talking to me, and yeah, so it'd be super fun to play against those guys. Probably have a couple conversations with them before and after the game, talk a little smack. But yeah, it'd be super fun to play against those guys.
It might make things awkward in the family section of the bleachers because fellow tight end, incoming tight end here, Carton Kukenboo, his dad played at Idaho. So, we might have to separate the families in the section there. But uh
Right? Yeah.
but one more question here for you, and it's probably the most meaningful part of coming to Boise State, coming to college football now in this new era is the new playoff system because
Mhm.
anybody has a chance, and Boise State proved that last year. And so, what does it mean for you? You talked about being a football fan. You talked about your family being football fans and just loving football in general. What does it mean for you to be able to come to a team that has a path to the playoffs and actually talks about that, makes that a goal and an emphasis item when they're talking to recruits or they're talking to players? What is that like for you to be able to join a team that has a path and an intentionality to get to the playoffs every year?
I mean, again, it means a lot. Like there's two types of people in the world. There's winners and there's losers, right? So, and I love winning. I mean, winning is one of the up there for one of the top things you can do in life. Um, So I mean, obviously, super winning. I mean, like a top five most winningest program in Boise State, who has that path to the playoffs, and it's not like a team where it's like we could make it to the playoff this year. Like we have a chance. It's like no, we can make it to playoffs this year, and like if we don't meet that expectation, like that's an expectation almost is like we are gonna make the college football playoffs this year. So I love having that chance. You got to win to make it to the college football playoff, and love winning. So that definitely is a huge boost when it came to my recruitment and just wanting to be there because Boise State is a winning program for sure.
Well, we're excited to watch you and your class do a lot of winning here in the next few years. Thanks so much for coming on. We're excited for you and your journey, your continuation of that fan journey to player journey, and actually getting to contribute here to the future of Boise State and establishing a legacy in the same way that your dad did. So thanks so much for coming on, Ryan. It's been a great conversation.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, this has been great, everybody. Thanks so much for sticking around all the way to the end. Please let us know in the comments below your thoughts and expectations for the new Pac-12 with Boise State in it, what the future looks like for Boise, and also any areas that you think Boise State needs to kind of go after the 2026 recruiting class. Any thoughts you have, put in the comments below. I'd love to have that discussion with each and every one of you guys. Thanks so much for watching all the way to the end. Make sure you like and subscribe, and as always, go Big Blue!
Yes, sir. Go Broncos.